Welcome to Happy Today podcast. This is a podcast for those who want to improve service experience of internal services. If you use ServiceNow or other enterprise service management system, then this is for you. Welcome to this episode of Happy Today. Today's topic is remote work experience, and this is related to our happiness score. And this is a sneak peek, so really based on the 5,500 responses. Topics of today, what we're going to talk about is a little bit about the studies about remote work itself, the current situation we are today, and then quickly how was the data gathered, what we have gathered, and then we'll go into data review and also a little bit of discussion on that. But maybe first, so my name is Pasi Nikkanen. I'm the Chief Product Officer at HappySignals, and joining me today is our CEO, Sami Kallio. Sami, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
All right. And quickly, for people who don't know, so what is happiness score? So it's a benchmark that we are gathering for service management, but mainly also from IT. And this remote work is the first thing outside of service management. You can subscribe to quarterly updates, so you get always up to date. You can find it on our website. But yeah, first, little bit on some studies about remote work. So I found couple of studies. One from OVL Labs saying that remote work isn't the future of work, it's the present. And this was actually done in September 2019. I think the study itself, it's really good to go through to understand how people feel about remote work. And I think the title of the study, it couldn't be more present. So yeah. Another good study that we found was from Jack Center, which actually said that 71% of remote workers say that they are happy with their job compared to 55% of on-site workers. And again, this is October, so before the current situation. So I think remote work has been a topic which is kind of dividing companies a bit. Is it good? Is it bad? How do we actually make sure that people are working when they are at home and all that stuff? And there have been these studies saying that people actually are quite productive when they are there. And I guess some of you also found a quick status from our research about the happiness.
Yeah, kind of the overall point of this slide is that even though, of course, the situation now is terrible and the change here is very fast, but kind of we feel that there are also positive things that we might together learn during this. Now we are just forced to do it in a very, very, very short term. But still, that survey on the right side is really the first thing that we will today talk about, the results that we have gotten from those 5,500 people. There are 3.6 times more people that are thinking and saying that the working from home is more efficient than working from office. So we are asking for people who are loving the working mode. They are saying that working at home works. That one factor there is that it is more efficient than from the office. On the other hand, if they are unsatisfied, we are also having a factor that working out of the office is inefficient. But there are much less people selecting that, as there are people who are selecting that we are very efficient when we work home. So kind of let's see what happens. But of course, the situation is terrible. But maybe this will be the change that will stay a longer time.
So maybe about the current situation. So why did we actually start to tackle this? So I guess it's because, now remote working in the past few weeks, because of the circumstances, has really drastically changed.
Yeah. Kind of these are numbers from the overall IT incident benchmark that we are having. So now during the last week, so after the mid-March, there is now 25 to 35% is more tickets overall in our customer base. And that means, of course, that there was no additional people in service desk before this. So there is not more people handling those tickets. But simultaneously, even though that is the situation that there is so much more, the happiness score that we are measuring is going up. So I have to say that the whole industry and you guys, you are doing extremely well compared to the situation where we are now. Of course, many of the people are now understanding that IT is in a big change and you are struggling with the resources, and now the agents are working from home and everything like that. So they understand a bit more. But still, and during this crisis, the happiness of end users to IT support is bigger than it was before.
Yeah.
Not maybe expecting this to be the case in 1 month time, but at least now they are more happy to it.
Yeah. All right, then a little bit on how this data was gathered. So actually what we created to our product was that there's an extra survey after the end users are kind of replying to their service experience thing. So we are kind of asking that if you are working remotely, how happy are you with remote working tools? And then we have a NPS type scoring, and we have these factors to identify the reasons. And what we have gathered so far, so this was actually in the morning. So in 8 days, 28 enterprises joined this survey. We got 5,500 responses. I think Sami just checked that currently it's about 7,000 responses, and they come from more than 80 countries. And there's more than 10,000 of these factors selected. So a lot of data in a short time. And today we'll look at the results, a little bit of how does it look like.
And of course, the point of all this webinar is to help the whole industry, our customers and everybody to understand where to locate our resources now when there is more and more need of focus and being able to help these people. And then, of course, after this, just feel free to contact us and ask questions and ask something. If you need some more data, maybe we have it. So be active and use us to help you guys.
Yeah, that was the reason why we actually wanted to put this like really fast, so that we can already give you for like the first indicators of what seems to matter in the remote work experience. We feel that our whole goal is to make people more happier and more productive. So sharing this kind of information is how we roll, I would say. All right, Sami, then let's get to the results. I think that's what people are here waiting for. So how does the overall scores look like?
So on the right side in the light pink, we have the IT incidents and IT requests, those kind of normal things what we measure. On the middle here, 36 is the average score of the IT remote work experience. And in these circumstances, I would say that is quite high. That means, in fact, that there is 4 times more people rating the service with 9 and 10 than there is people rating it less than 7. So kind of giving you kind of a precision of most of the people to get that high score are satisfied.
Yeah.
And that's quite good situation now in this first week or 2 weeks time.
Yeah.
So that's and this score is as most of you know, it is calculated in the same way that Net Promoter Score calculates the score. So the percentile amount of 9 and 10 minus the percentile amount of less than 7. So that's why I said there is 4 times more positive thinking people than there is negative thinking people. So that's not a bad score. I would say that.
I agree. So then let's go to see like what people are then saying. And I think we pretty quickly identified the number one issue. And if I click here, you can see that it's about VPN drops all the time. VPN is slow. My VPN doesn't work. VPN connection is overloaded. I had to take my PC at home and I cannot access VPN. Difficult to get into VPN. So really VPN. So what do you, Sami, say about VPN?
Yeah, I think that was quite clear. And we had one discussion with one customer who said that they had to get 6 times more VPN capacity to be used now in this situation than they used to have before. So enormous pressure on the VPN services, and kind of what we have been now discussing with Pasi with you is that happily the kind of moving to cloud has been going on. So
yeah,
that is making things much easier.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with the VPN as well, it's kind of there were some recommendations from Gartner saying that maybe you should turn off the video while you are currently using the VPN. It's kind of like a workaround for the moment, so that you don't crash all the systems. But in a way, it does take a lot from the engagement of remote working if you don't see the video as well. But then, kind of what highlights what you just said was the one comment saying that person who gave it 10, like I'm really happy, still simply blown away how well this is working. Before moving to the cloud, we would have been so much less efficient. So really highlighting like for us, we both Sami and myself have worked with big organizations, have used VPNs. Nowadays, of course, when we started a smaller company, we are using two-factor authentications, we are using cloud services, so we have totally forgotten all about VPNs. For us, it's always been the same. Are we working from home or are we working at the office? So kind of thinking this thing that remote work is just that you are working somewhere with your laptop. It doesn't matter what the physical space is where you're kind of sitting at. And kind of on that, interesting thing on this comment was also that I wasn't allowed to bring equipment home. So.
But I think the whole overall VPN situation is also that the normal end users, they don't understand when VPN is needed and when it's not needed.
True.
They are balancing on, I can access this application, but I can't do this. Why is that? And not having kind of a clear picture of which applications really need VPN and which are able even to be used outside of it. So yeah. I think that kind of questions there are.
Yeah, it is true. I've also heard this from customers saying that some say that, hey, the hack is actually that you just turn off the VPN when you go to this Teams meeting, and then when you need to do this, then you actually turn it on again. But it's a hassle. So to be honest, at least I feel personally that it's a kind of a legacy still that is dragging us along. And maybe now this moment when people are in big masses forced to work from home, it kind of just highlights the vulnerability in the VPN area. All right, but then that wasn't all. So what else people said? So there were a lot of course, device problems. So people are complaining, for example, that now they start to have to work with the laptop. So maybe they have used at the office like a desktop computer or a big screen that you attach. You have a docking station with all the keyboard and mouse. So that was at least a common theme, or how did you, Sami, say it?
Yeah, it's the screens. It was maybe even a dominating thing here when we talk about devices, but also like not having headsets and not having keyboard at home and so on. So I would kind of think that they are kind of all related to the workspace where I am.
Yeah.
Kind of all the things. I have everything that I had in the office now in my kitchen. So making things easy to work in about same way than before.
Yeah.
And these are kind of things that if you now look at like go to LinkedIn or even go to Facebook, everybody's sending pictures about what is their setup at home, where it is,
exactly.
And now they have their favorite coffee cup every time used and whatever. But it's I think this is something that is the first 2 weeks kind of stuff that people are making things work here.
True. Then another thing is that, of course, if you need to install some other software, even to another, and you don't have the access rights. So this, of course, is related to IT policies when people are not allowed to install applications themselves. So of course, this creates a lot of work for the IT support. But the really interesting one was like not thinking always about your own connections, but your colleagues' connection. So kind of pointing out this is something that we were discussing with Sami, and then we actually saw a real feedback on this topic. So sometimes the screen of the presenter freezes. So actually, just one person having a bad connection at home kind of creates a bad experience for everybody joining that meeting. Maybe something that is not always so understood. But then there were a lot of positive things. Of course, the social distancing. So one saying that I really like remote working, but I miss my colleagues. So I think not underestimating these soft values. And this is probably something that we in HappySignals, we have kind of started a virtual coffee session every afternoon where we kind of just everybody pops up and we can just talk whatever so that we see our faces and everybody is in the same place together. But
and I would say this area of the social distancing that will be the challenging part in the coming weeks.
Yes. Kind of, I think because it really depends on the person. Some persons just really need that social connection. And now when you are maybe even social distanced after work as well, you can't meet your friends physically or whatever, then it will probably be a more underlying issue. But then people were also saying that they are more productive. Of course, some people are not because then the schools might be closed, so they have the kids running at home. But on the other hand, sometimes you are able to focus more when you don't have this like impromptu drop-ins and interruptions. So it's not all bad. So I think that's what we wanted to say here as well.
Yeah.
But okay, Sami, let's move forward, and I'll give you the steps. So next are these factors. So first, people who selected 0 to 6, so they were not really happy with the service. So what did these factors tell you?
Yeah. So when you look at this, the total amount of those factors is 100%. So this kind of shows that how important certain factor is. So when people answer the survey, they are able to select multiple, but 27% of all selections were about the network connection.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of quite obvious. So if you look at that network connection, then the next one is the VPN, then even accessing tools. These are all things that are really like basics. If they are not right, you can not do anything. And in that sense, it's quite clear that these are the biggest ones, that if something is wrong, if these are wrong, then everything is wrong. So you will rate the service very, very low. On the other hand, if you look at the kind of the other end there, people don't feel that it's hard to contact their colleagues. They don't feel that they wouldn't have kind of the good practices of how to work, and they know how to arrange online meetings. So kind of those are maybe, or as you can see in the future when we look at the positive things, they are not the things that are now the main point. The main point is really get things, if I can do at least something. Yeah. That is still the situation if we are looking at this.
And this might be really interesting to see how these change in the coming weeks. So if we do the next report, let's say in 4 weeks, have companies and have people been able to get the network connection issues solved, are the VPNs now working? So what is then going to be the next thing is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and I know that showing something like this is really frustrating, because now you might have 10,000 people working from home with their own home connections and all, but kind of that network connection really is the bad issue here, because as Pasi already said, there are 10 people in the meeting, only one having bad connection might ruin the experience for everybody and not able to work in an efficient way. Yeah. And that's, of course, now there are Netflix and everybody are dropping out the capacity of what they are using so to get enough network. But I would say mainly, at least what I have experienced now during the week, is the one person's home network connection might be the bad link.
Yes.
And that's enough to cause problems. And that's kind of the thing of how we can support people in a way that we can get get things working in a way that we support people to get better internet connection at work, which is easy for us to say. We are a small company, we can upgrade everybody's connection if that's the case, but
still it might actually be that your home is in a location where you're not able to get it. So yeah, I'm like fortunate that there's like a fiber cable coming to my house with 1 gigabyte connection, but then our other colleague is only forced to use 4G. So, and there's nothing he can do about it actually. So it will probably stay there, but yeah, trying to figure out workarounds how to make it better. But then, kind of, how will this happiness change? So something we draw up with you. So do you want to start explaining a little bit like how we might see that as an IT department, how to kind of prepare for the coming weeks and months and let's say years as well?
So yeah, I think the kind of what we were thinking here was that this is not going to be over in 2 weeks, and the kind of the expectation of end users will be having a change, and this kind of is our estimate what will happen. So now, as you can see, maybe on the Maslow hierarchy, yes, we are in a level of now getting it technically working, access, connectivity, equipment. You have that basics done. The next step, how we feel, is that the remote meetings kind of culture have to be even on a better level. Like maybe if the connections are enough high, you can have your videos on, and that is the policy that everybody will always keep videos on and that kind of stuff. So you start to really take care of the minds of people, that when you are working in this way, that everybody's on their laptop and sharing things and discussing, you need the connection with people.
Yeah, and it's
so
kind
might
of like
be that, yeah.
you start sharing a screen, it just works. It's not like, again, every time you have to see that, hey, are you now seeing my screen? And somebody's saying that I can't see the screen now. So it's just like really frustrating. That's like really basic stuff that should be working after you get all the connectivity and equipment things working. So kind of setting it up, how do I invite people here? Because I guess there's like so many levels. Some people, this is like every day that they're already doing this, they are setting up. Maybe some people, they've always been in the office. Maybe something like somebody in the finance department or somebody that he has never had to really do and set up these meetings. So it might be new things for them as well.
Yeah, and it's. I think you said it well that it's not going to be only remote meetings, online meetings. It has to be remote co-working.
Yeah,
and that kind of the expectation of end users will be, and the business expectation to us in IT is going to move quite fast to a situation that we have to be able to support them in doing workshops and really doing cooperation and finding who's working today or who is not. Can I now contact Pasi or not? Because I cannot see him entering office. I have to know, can I go and ask something exactly now? Or am I interrupting something? So kind of the ways of working will be changed quite rapidly now, and having and thinking about those ways how we can support it. So this is not all now kind of a support work related, but this definitely is related to how we want to work as a remote.
Yeah, and if you think about our old company where we used to work like a service design company, the culture was that everybody goes into a workshop room and then you start drawing with pens and you have Post-it. But how do you actually do that remotely? I mean, having status meetings and talking about stuff online is fine, but actually working, creating something, solving problems when you are not able to sit next to you. So I think that's a real challenge that will come in the, let's say, in the coming months. I mean, you can tackle a few weeks with meetings and kind of phone calls and stuff like that, but then it might start to be a hassle.
Yeah.
And I think then use it really nicely, like anybody who has kind of done user experience things like having mobile first culture, then maybe like we feel that maybe then companies should start to have remote first culture. Now there's like big offices totally empty. Think about the infrastructure that has been put on the meeting rooms, the cost of the meeting rooms. Why actually would you then, if you are remote first culture, would even have to have like that kind of so high-tech meeting rooms there? Because like also these kind of hybrid meetings are very bad when certain people are in the meeting room and somebody's remote. Then it's always like not like everybody's not on the same level. Somebody's maybe not hearing properly, and then they cannot see when somebody starts drawing on the paper and things like that. But all right, this may be something that we thought with Sami. We'll happy to chat about this more. So just contact us in social media or whatever. But then let's continue with the data. So how will the next will be the neutral factors and then the positive factors. So maybe looking at this picture, let's see will that data also somehow correlate with our thinking here. So neutral factors, people who selected 7 or 8.
Yeah. So as you can see in here, the network connection is even higher and even more dominating compared to the other factors here. And again, all those basic things that you get things working on a basic level, they are more important now. So even if you click 7 or 8, you are not maybe satisfied. Okay, you might get connections, but I would say maybe that the network connection here is about I might have okay connection, but it's others are lacking, and it's that crappy feeling when things are not moving as they should be.
Even that one comment about that presenter, cutting the network connection, that was a person who gave a neutral score. So
yeah.
All right, then
but
what about the positive? Please.
Yeah. Let's go to the positive because I think that is showing kind of the difference. So now when looking at the 9 and 10, we start to be more in a way of best practices and kind of we have to be able to give them the good experience to really get good and high scores. 9 and 10 are so good comments. So you kind of start to feel that, remote working is a positive thing. As you can see, 19% of these people said that remote working is efficient. Now in the neutral, it was negative way. 10% of those people said that
Yeah.
it's. I don't feel that a negative. I feel like a negative thing to work remotely. So these guys are most likely also quite familiar with the working. So now we have to also remember that we have now 5,500 answers. And part of those people are now working remotely maybe the first week in their life, and some are like us working every week and every day remotely partly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of there are different kind of people thinking differently about this situation and how familiar they are with it. But I would still say that in the future to get 9 and 10, so make people really happy to work and not you losing time and not losing their nerves, you really have to be able to support them on the kind of a more cultural level.
Yeah.
So how we do things, and that is the same way how we work. You don't have to ask everybody to open their camera. You don't have to say that this is the way how we work. You don't have to tell that we are start meetings exactly the right time.
Yeah.
It's these cultural things will be having a bigger and bigger influence. How we instruct people to these, and that stuff will be more important for sure.
True.
But only after we have the basics done, so that everybody is able to technically join things.
Yeah. All right. I think that kind of covers the sneak peek data we have today. Let's go through. There were a couple of questions. So Umuta, you already answered to that, Sami. So possible to receive the copy of these slides? Yes, we'll send these slides, and we'll also write an article with the data on our website. And Itendar was asking about how do we actually capture this data. So we actually have on our website an IT remote work article that kind of shows you how it's been captured currently. And basically also on our website, you can look at the demo, how the product itself works. I basically just don't want to go into deeper on this webinar, how the solution works, since we want to keep this as a sharing of data meeting.
Yeah. But maybe one comment of that, now we have to remember that all this data is collected after they have had a request or incident ticket. Yeah. So this is related to that they had something else to handle with IT as well in the same time.
All right. But yeah, that basically covers it. So stay safe and sane. And yeah, I think the conference call bingo is now more relevant than ever. And if you go out to a walk and you want to hear more of me and Sami chatting around on topics and some of the customer stories, you can subscribe to our Happy Today podcast as well. It's available on all the podcast platforms and our website as well. But yeah, from my side, thank you. Any last words, Sami, that you wanna share?
No, just contact us if you wanna discuss this issue. Of course, we are trying to learn about the situation as you are, and we want to be kind of linking people who have issues with something related to this one, and maybe some other customers or our contacts has resolution or solution for that. We try to be a hub between different parties. So yes.
Yeah. All right, thank you guys, and we'll let you know when the next webinar with the more in-depth research is coming out. So thank you, stay safe, and talk to you later.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.